Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Professional Brotherhood podcast. Kara, what's up?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Cold and snowy in central New York this evening?
Yes. Cold and snowy.
That's all right. It's cold here. It's not snowy, though, in beautiful upstate Hudson Valley, New York.
Fake upstate. Upstate.
The fake upstate.
Upstate.
All right, so we got another cool guest for everybody this evening. Another old friend of mine, former volunteer locally with me, who has, surprisingly, we were just talking before we hit the record button, has been on the job with the FDNY for 15 years.
15 years, unbelievable, yeah.
Wild.
Time flies.
I remember when he got the job, and it didn't seem like 15 years have gone by. So, Erik, welcome. If you wouldn't mind, just introduce yourself to everybody, and we'll jump into it.
Well, hello. My name is Erik Lubniewski. I'm a 15-year veteran of the FDNY. Led a company 3-9 in the Bronx. Before that, I started as a volunteer firefighter in Bethel, New York, just outside of Monticello, where I grew up. The next town over from where Brian grew up is the Smallwood-Mongaup Valley Fire Department. So I started there in about 1996. Just like a lot of the guests you have, I've been in the fire department for basically my whole life. My father was involved, my uncles, my grandfathers, everybody was involved in the family. So I probably have 24 years in the volunteer service, still active, now in the Washingtonville Fire Department where I live in Orange County. An lower state, whatever you want to call it, upper or lower state.
well, Kara has been giving me a hard time since we met, right? Because I used to say upstate New York, and of course she's farther upstate, and then whatever. We've settled on the Hudson Valley, the Catskills.
That's right.
Okay, the Catskills.
They think I grew up in Canada, down in the city. The guys from Long Island, New York.
Yeah.
They think the Bronx is upstate.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm in Central, and you should hear the people from North Country.
Yeah.
You're a downstater.
I'm a downstater to Watertown.
Old Watertown. Gotta get a few friends up there.
Yeah. So, Erik, you started in the volunteers,
Yes.
and we were talking beforehand. For those of you who've tuned into some of the other episodes, if you remember, we talked to Tad Mapledorm, who's now a chief out in the western part of the country. And we all kind of grew up in this around the same time. I'm a little older than these guys, so I'm a few years ahead of them in the aging of the volunteer service here. But not to date myself, but it's cool because one of the things that I've always enjoyed is kind of watching people's journeys, and obviously some have gone on to be career firefighters like yourself and have had a long and good career, and hopefully will continue to for a few more years yet. And then obviously I have other friends that have been doing this for a long time and have moved on to other parts of the country to either continue to volunteer or not to volunteer. Interestingly enough, just to mention this tonight, because Erik grew up in Smallwood-Mongaup Valley Fire Department. One of my very soon-to-be guests is going to be Matt Steen from former Smallwood-Mongaup Valley firefighter as well. Matt moved south. He and I were chief first go around the same time. And he's going to come on and talk about how he used the skills that he learned being a volunteer firefighter in life, like how to, his career and everything. So that's something else coming. I just thought it was interesting because this all kind of came together organically. We started talking, then Matt reached out, and like nobody knew anybody was talking to one another. So it was kind of cool. So let's talk about your journey. Let's go back. Like, you're one of the guys I knew always wanted to be a firefighter.
Sure.
I don't really think you had your eye on any other prize, right?
I did. I mean, realistic prize anyways. I mean,
Right.
I was, just like you, I was an athlete in school, and I was a really good baseball player. As far as I was a pitcher, I could throw the ball pretty well. And for a few years there, I traveled around playing in wooden bat leagues, and went to college showcases, actually tried out for the pros 2 times. It didn't work out, but it was always like fire department was always there no matter what.
Right.
So again, starting from as a kid, being there all the time, really, being the little buff, I guess they call them, rolling hose. It was always there. And yes, I mean, for the most part, that's what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
It was always in my life at some point in my life. So, when I started there, and again, you started around you're a little bit earlier than I did, but we kind of came up around the same people, the same mentors.
Yeah, for sure.
And at that time, like Chief Mabledorm said, Monticello at that time was very busy, and you guys caught an exceptional amount of work, and I was involved with that because we're almost your primary mutual aid company, I think, at that time, because you had a very good relationship with Chief Steen.
Yeah.
And the rest of the guys. And I just think in that era of guys, you just had, I don't know if it was guys that were into construction, into the trades, whatever it was, you had a lot of guys that were just very into training, very into everything we did. I mean, a new class came out, we were there, but we capitalized on it by bring it back to the firehouse, training on it, not, just that way. We did, we have a folder of certificates, but we knew, what we were doing, after that training. And we knew we wanted to do it again, and we wanted to advance ourselves.
And I want everybody to understand this. So Smallwood it's a small volunteer firehouse. It's a small community. So just to kind of put things in perspective for you, at the time when I was involved in Monticello, we probably had 50 to 60 active members, and we're running probably 1,000 calls a year, probably 35 fires a year. All right. Smallwood, in relation to that, only 5-6 miles away, maybe 5-6 miles away. As far as membership, much smaller, right? I mean,
yes.
Probably 20 guys at the time.
I would say 20, 25 active, and then of course your other members. You might have all together maybe 40 or 50 altogether, but active members 20 to 25. Yeah.
But 80, back then you had a solid core of super active guys. Like that 20 was, like you said, they were always showing up for training.
Everything.
They were ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, there was no time where you doubted anybody. You didn't doubt anything. It was great. It was just unbelievable how many guys were on the same page. And I think that just enhanced my, thoughts of the fire department and what I want to do, because we had so many guys. I mean, from getting the rig ready for a parade to training to the pancake breakfast, whatever it was, everybody was just always there. It was just it was a good time, and it was like family. It was just unbelievable family, like it should be, And again, I know times have changed, but I just remember that, and that's what keeps me involved in everything that I do. Remembering that part of the service, it was unbelievable. To go through that.
One of the things that we've talked about with other guests, and it's come up on other topics, and Carrie, you can chime in a little here on this one, I'm sure, is, sometimes we get messages from people, and it's crazy. We talk about every episode, the messages and the comments that we get from. One thing this platform has educated us both on is how things are done in other parts of the country that we would never have known before. Right. But one of the common questions that I get is from, firefighters that come from that smaller organization, right? kind of like where you came from,
Sure.
that doesn't get a lot of work of their own, you know, and they don't know how to, you know, they don't know how to push forward. They don't know how to keep people motivated. They don't know how to create that vibe you were just talking about, that family feeling, that want to go train. Right, Kara? I mean, we've talked about this before.
Yeah. I think one thing that just really that Erik just mentioned that really just like sparked something for me is hearing that when you go out to take the class, you bring what you learned back to the station and make it applicable and train at your station with your crew, and not just let it be a piece of paper sitting in the file cabinet. I think that's like hugely important to keeping the momentum going and keeping the interest going, because you know, most of us who are interested and are vested and want to do better love going to the classes and learning new things and meeting, you know, other firefighters and seeing different ways to do things. And, you know, that's what gets us charged up, gets us excited, and gets us ready to go back. And if you only keep that in that small window of the class, you're really missing out on a huge opportunity to come together as a group and mentor other members. So I think it's a great point to mention that when you come back from class, don't let it end there.
Yeah, even if your budget's small or whatever it is, you know, you don't have the area to train, figure it out, you know, just try to figure out something. I mean, we used to, you know, we had the meeting hall had a pool table. We used to do our reduced profiles and low profiles and everything else in between chairs, you know, or underneath the pool table, whatever it was, you know, but we did it blacked out, and we just, you know, again, we're bringing this training back to the firehouse. And then obviously as time went by, the new training center in Sullivan County, where we grew up, you know, they expanded and created their own training center, and they have their own property now. But, you know, we had other areas to train, but as far as our small department, we didn't have that budget, but we figured it out. We made do. And again, when you have 10 or 15 motivated guys that, you know, it's like a challenge for each other. It's like being on a sports team where, you know, you want to be better than that other guy, and it just motivated you to you know, train to that level. And, you know, again, a 50 or 80 call department acting like, you know, they go to fires every other day, you know. And when we have maybe one or two first year jobs a year, and the rest is mutual aid to, you know, Monticello, wherever we were going, you know.
So, but again, you know, people see what's going on, right? People see the motivation. People see the core always showing up for training, always signing up for classes, always working together. So, you know, that department, in our case at the time, which was my department, sees this core of guys always working. Now you're like, oh, who am I going to call? You know, who am I going to bring in to help? Who am I going to call for mutual aid? Am I going to call the guys on this side of the district that aren't doing anything? Or am I going to call these guys that are going to show up ready to work with a crew of hard chargers, like just ready to do it, you know? And that plays a part in getting out more, being, you know, having that recognition.
And leading from the front, you know, we talk about that a lot too.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Lead from the front, take action, show that that's where you want to be. And that's why, you know, you're there for the right reason, and you don't already know everything. There's always something that can be learned.
Yep. Sure. And the other thing, Erik, you know, is when you talk about bringing stuff back and, you know, always working, always training, always being together, you know, I know what I see now where I'm at in an all volunteer department, that also motivates the older guys that maybe can't do the interior stuff anymore, but they still want to pay attention and they still want to be involved. And, you know, they kind of feed into that environment, you know, into that positivity.
Absolutely.
You know? And I remember you guys, you know, you had a good crew of younger guys, but you also had a handful of, you know, guys that have been there for quite some time that maybe not have been physically doing the stuff that you guys were doing, but were showing up to drive the apparatus, right? You know, and they feed on that.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, it was like a spark again, like Kara was saying, a spark kicked on in the older members. You know, I mean, I remember my uncle was a chief at the time, and some other guys, you know, not going to mention names, but just, you know, the spark, you know, kicked in again. And I guess because there was a new level of training at that time also, there were different tactics and everything else. You know, everybody got interested again, even the older members, and it was great to see. It was great to see everybody just motivated from, like you said, from the oldest member down to the newest member. So.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's funny you just mentioned that because I never really thought of it like that before, but that mid 90s, like I think it was right around that mid 90s, early to mid 90s was when all the firefighter survival, fast, like all that stuff really started hitting hard in the
Absolutely.
service. And it really did, you know, it was just, you know, solid hands-on stuff that like really got people excited to just go out and do it, you know. And you would take that thing, you know, if that course came around twice a year, you'd take it multiple times just do it, you know.
Absolutely.
And I never really thought of it, you know, in that way. It's funny how the training of the time, or the you know, kind of reinvigorate everybody to really step up and learn some new stuff and be proficient at the skills, you know.
Yeah, I remember, I mean, I was old enough when bunker gear came in, and, you know, they went from 3/4 boots, you know, 3/4 jacket. They went to bunker gear. I remember my father having, you know, bunker gear for the first time. He's looking at it. He's like, what is this? You know, and they went from that to that, you know, that training, you know, it just went tenfold, you know. And again, I think it just motivated everybody. You know, it wasn't the basic tactics anymore. It was, you know, whole different ball game, and it really motivated everybody that I ever talked to, you know, from mid 90s and beyond. You know, they knew exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, again, dating myself, right? My first set of bunker gear, and I've told this story before. My first set of bunker gear, I don't remember. I know part of it, if not the whole thing, was like a birthday gift from my parents, because the department at the time didn't give out bunker gear. Like, you came in, they gave you a coat and they gave you 3/4 hip boots. If you wanted pants, like, you had to go out and get them yourself. Like, and I think I ordered them from like Galls or something, you know? It's funny. It's just crazy how the times have changed.
I remember my dad's 3/4 boots being down at the base of the stairs. In the garage, and like, that's just like something that's burned into my memory, you know, is that they were there. And sometimes if I would come home and they were gone, that's how I knew he was out. You know, because they weren't, because the 3/4 boots weren't there. You know?
It's wild. Now you're using for waiters, you know.
Exactly.
He has them at camp. That's how to put the docks in and out.
I'm sure he does. They're a hot commodity now, but not for firefighting, for other things.
And he makes fun of me. He's like, you don't have these. I'm like, yeah, I know, Dad. I'm sorry. not as cool as you.
All right, so Erik, let's pick up. All right, so you're in the volunteers, having a good time, fighting some fire, getting a lot of training in, working with a good crew of guys. Where do you go from there?
So at the time, you know, my father had a construction company. He was a licensed electrician, so I was working with him a lot on his crew, building houses and everything. So from there, one of our close friends also and mentor said, hey, you know, New York State Fire Academy, I can get you in. You have to pay out of your pocket, but, you know, all the other city fire departments in New York go to the state academy for their probate class. He's like, are you interested? And I said, absolutely. You know, at that point, I think, you know, I was there. I was at the line. It's like, this is what I want to do. And so at August of 2002, I ended up going to New York State Fire Academy, paid out of my own pocket, with another friend of ours that's in your department that you're in now.
Chief Meadow. We can give Chief Meadow a shout out.
Chief Meadow.
Yeah.
Give him some credit. What's up, Chief? But yeah, Chief and I went up there, and he did the same thing. And, you know, that was our inspiration to, you know, start taking tests. And, you know, again, we went up there to be state and nationally certified. We ended up taking our EMT and everything else, you know, really getting the ball rolling to make this a career, make it happen.
Yeah.
So from there, the end of 2002 was the FDNY test. So I graduated New York State Fire Academy on Halloween 2002, and in December of 2002, I was down in the city taking the New York City fire exam. Yeah. So it started from there, and I scored very well. And from there, I that's all I can think of. So
Yeah.
I went down to the city. I got a job as a plumber in the meantime, because again, it took, back then it took a long time.
Yeah, it took a
Uh,
while.
it actually only took me 3 years compared to some. I know some that it took 6 or 7 years
Hmm.
to get on the job, but I ended up getting on second class in 2006. So from basically the beginning of '03, actually the June of '03, I moved down to the city. It took that much time to get on the job.
Yeah, and I
So
remember when you moved down there because
mhm.
you wanted to have the residency and everything like done,
Yeah,
set, like no questions.
yeah, I was trying to be as legit as possible because I didn't want any issues. I
Right.
knew I've heard of the issues and I just didn't want to deal with it. And believe me, I missed the volunteers. I missed the guys up at Smallwood. I wanted to stay there, but again, this is what I wanted to do. And,
Right.
thank God I had the Smallwood Fire Department as my, as a stepping stone to do what I do today.
Yeah.
And again, enjoy every bit of it. Still love it to this day. I love to train. Just a very motivated person, and I just it's life.
Yeah, yeah, for
So,
sure. So, I mean, look, just the progression, right, to your career. So, you had some good years as a volunteer firefighter,
sure.
not sitting back, just, coasting, actually working and training and learning. Then you go to
Sure.
the state fire academy and essentially go through career academy, right? I mean, that's what
Yes.
it is.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
you go through career academy up at New York State Fire Academy in Montour Falls,
Hmm.
and then you come out and the FDNY thing works out. And so you find yourself back in the academy again, right?
That's it. Yep.
But this progression, I'm sure, made that academy, once you got to that academy, I mean, I'm sure it gave you a bit of an upper hand. No, I mean, I would
Absolutely.
think so.
As far as your basic skills, yes.
Yeah,
Obviously, FDNY does it their way.
sure. Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's listen, you're still stretching lines, you're still you're still overhauling, you're still forcing doors. Whatever every department in the country does, you're doing the
right.
same thing. But yeah, absolutely helped. And I've talked to a ton of guys that started with similar style career. First in the volunteers, and then
Mhm.
became a career firefighter, and absolutely, it absolutely helped a lot. And they pounded us to the ground, like,
Sure.
and with PT and everything else. But it was a great experience, but it was something that I already experienced before, and it just made it that much greater.
I don't
And
know
then
what they
again,
did to this guy, because I remember when he went to the academy, and I was a pretty good sized kid, right? But I don't know, all of a sudden he gets on the job, the FDNY, and like I run into him, or I see a picture somewhere or wherever, and what the hell happened to this dude? Like, he became like next thing you know, he's like, he's like all puffed out, and I'm like, holy shit, look at this guy, But
yeah, I was a tall, skinny guy, 6'4", decent size.
yeah,
But again, it all has to do with the fire service and the motivation. That it just motivated me to work out that much harder. Like I just feel like every day you go to work, it's a blessing to be a firefighter. And why don't you just max it out and do what you can to be the best, that you
It,
possibly can. So
obviously, fitness is my kind of niche
sure,
area, but it just still surprises me always when I hear firemen that are vehemently against regular physical fitness training as it applies to their job. And it baffles me that there are firemen out there that don't think that you need to be physically fit to do the job, whether you're getting paid or not.
sure.
It's bizarre to me that they don't have that same level of interest and enthusiasm about taking care of their bodies and taking care of their wellness so that they can do the job as they do about training. I mean, you have such a better time training if you're not gassed after the first evolution.
Absolutely. But I don't realize, I mean, I don't understand it either. Just whether you're a career firefighter or a volunteer, like, you should have some kind of, fitness in your life. I've always, again, I played sports in high school, and, I did go to junior college, and, for just a short period of time, I played baseball there, but I've always worked out. I've always trained. And, especially with the fire service, I've always done something. I have a regimen. I worked out this morning. You're always, I don't know. I try to motivate as many people as I possibly can.
Good.
Because,
Doing that.
and I'm going to continue to do it. But,
yeah, well, you're not the youngest guy in the job anymore, right?
No.
And I'm sure there's probably guys that are having a hard time keeping up to you,
Sure.
And
absolutely,
hopefully that's a motivator for them, like.
And I talked about that too, like even training at the academy when I trained for PT, I have recruits down there that are real young, 18, 19-year-old kids, and they've never had a weight in their hand, never ran a mile before. And, it's amazing to me, because then I have other recruits that are down there that are, because they're, obviously we have a broad range of ages. So then I have like, a 30-year-old that's crushing them, and by all means should not be, but they've never had to put any kind of physical exertion into their daily routine at all. And now we've got them out on the quad at 6 a.m. and getting after it. So yeah,
absolutely.
It's if you condition your body will take care of you.
Absolutely. We all have our times where we slip up and we eat or drink too much at the bar, whatever it is. But again, even if you have to be motivated, even with a hangover, it's not a bad idea to go out and sweat and get that water back in you when you're done too.
Gatorade takes you a long way.
Absolutely.
And we talk about this. We talk about the fitness thing a lot. That's definitely Kara's lane, big time. All right, it's been something I've been talking about for quite a while. It's probably how we ended up connecting with one another was fitness in the first place. But aside from, just taking care of yourself in general, right? Career, volunteer, whatever the hell you are, I have some funny conversations with people sometimes because, I had heart surgery last year, and I love when somebody comes up to me and they're like, how are you doing? Hey, how are you? They give me that weird, they give me that weird, like I had a heart attack look, like, how are you? Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm great. Never been better. Yeah, but you went through all that stuff. And I'm like, first of all, it was planned. Like I knew about it. I had been following everything that had been going on with me for years. Right. So it's not like it was a surprise. Now, had I never gone to the doctor, had I never gone for a physical, had I never done any of those things that some people just never do, it might have been that conversation that was, well, hey, how are you? Because it could have been, something real and maybe something life-threatening. I don't know. But, you just think about something like that. If you don't take care of yourself at all right, fitness, getting a regular physical, going to the doctor, like actually getting a checkup every once in a while beyond what they give you at the firehouse, right?
Sure.
You don't know what's going to happen. And we're kind of all at the age now, like all of us, where, we realize that more and more every day because we hear about people that we knew or people that we do know or whatever that things are happening to, and you're like, oh, what the hell? How'd that happen?
Yeah.
And there's the connection between, your physical wellness of your body and taking care of yourself and giving yourself a little bit of time, like Erik's saying, daily routine, make it your daily routine to take care of your body. That carries over into your mental health and your mental sharpness and your ability to withstand higher levels of stress that are coming at you from all different angles. We're all dealing with a lot right now with COVID and the pandemic, and all of the different rules and regulations and everything changes all the time. There's so many unknowns and, that kind of stuff. And that's just one small part of what's impacting our daily work. And so if you're not giving yourself some, time and attention to take care of your body, your mental health isn't going to be good. Your mental alertness and sharpness isn't going to be good. Your overall wellness isn't going to be good. And it's a cascade. It's going to all build up and take its toll on you if you're not paying attention to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right. So now we've made that journey We're in the FDNY. All right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about where you are, where you started, where you've gone.
Well, I've been a Bronx fireman my whole career. I started in ladder company 5-2, which is in the Riverdale section in the Bronx. More of an upscale, like one of the more upscale neighborhoods in the Bronx, basically the northern tip of Manhattan. Started there my probie year. I was there for maybe about a year and a half, if that. And I transferred over to engine company 6-3, which is still the North Bronx, but it's the Northeast Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the west side, and I went over to the east side. They just recently, when I got on, they merged with ladder company 3-9. They were both single houses. They merged the year before I transferred there. So, and it's a very busy neighborhood, surrounded by two other companies that are some of the busiest in the city. So I started there New Year's Eve of 07, and I've been there ever since. But I did cross back over to the truck. I did a little engine work for about an hour.
Here's where
Yeah,
it all starts.
About an hour, and you're like, I'm out.
Here's where it all starts to come in. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to post this. I'm like, oh shit! Here we go. The guy went from the ladder to the engine, back to the truck. Holy crap!
I couldn't help myself.
Cross the streams.
And it's great too, because that guy, he came up with a ton of excuses to go back to the truck, but all the senior guys are like, "Oh, you're there for a cup of coffee. I can't believe would you stretch one line and you went back to the truck? Unbelievable." So yeah, I got my balls busted. I still do to this day. The captain of the engine, he just recently retired, and he loves telling that story every time. Bust my chops. But he still has footprints on his back going back over to the truck after a year and a half. So
that's great.
So I was in 63 for a year and a half, and July of 09, I went to the 39 truck. It's the only tiller in the Bronx, which is pretty cool, driving a tiller all the time.
That's awesome.
And so I've been there the whole time. I'm sorry, the rest of the time. It's been great. I had a lot of great senior men in the house that taught me a lot. I had a lot of middle of the road guys that taught me a ton. Again, guys with volunteer backgrounds, with state instructor backgrounds
Mm-hmm.
in New York. You might know a few, but it's just been a cool ride going through. A career. That's always what I wanted. It's again, it's fast paced in the city, but I wouldn't want it any other way. We're doing, and we're not even doing, compared to some companies, we're not even doing a lot. We're doing 3,000 runs a year, and other truck companies are doing probably 5,000 to 6,000 runs a year. But our structural fires are up there. We're probably top 25 in the city. A lot of course, there's busy areas in East New York and Brooklyn, and busy areas in Harlem, still in the South Bronx. But it used to be one of the slower areas in the Bronx, nicer neighborhoods. And, after the Bronx burned out in the South, kind of started working its way north, and, that's what you have now. But,
so did you come in after, because I know at one time you kind of did, in your probationary time, you kind of rotated around a little bit, like you'd end up in a few different boroughs, right?
So they just recently brought back the rotation. We didn't have the rotation. I didn't have a chance to do it. So I stayed as a probie. I stayed there. I mean, I worked within my battalion, because again, I was a probie. I was a junior guy. So, senior guys kick you out, time to go. It was good though. You get to see other houses, you get to see other boroughs. And, I definitely took my share of details, and I caught a few fires in Manhattan, a few in Queens, so, I definitely got to experience other places, so.
Right.
But years ago, they did the rotation, and they just recently brought it back. So we actually have a kid from Manhattan now. He's there for a year, and then he'll rotate to another house, or rotate back to his house after his time in the engine. He's in a ladder company in Manhattan. Now he's going to, he's with us in 63, and he'll either rotate back there or to another company.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, I knew it had changed at some point back then, because one of my other friends at the time who got in a little earlier than you. I remember when he was, he was in Manhattan, then he was in the Bronx, and he was in, I think he even did a little stint in Staten Island, maybe.
Sure.
I know that was the one place nobody ever wanted to go.
That's a long ride.
Unless they were retiring.
That's a long ride from anywhere. And
Yeah.
City traffic,
Right.
times it by two. If you're in the Bronx trying to get to Staten Island, you're better off going through Jersey.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to go through Manhattan or take the ferry or anything like that. It's crazy.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
Kara, what else you got? I see your wheels a turning over there.
No, I just think it's so interesting. So tell us about being a tiller man, because I know people are interested in that. That's like a big,
So as a tillerman, again, we're the only tiller in the Bronx. You're actually in-house trained. So the chauffeur that drives the rig in the front, he's chauffeur trained. He actually goes to chauffeur school.
Mm-hmm.
The tillerman is, you get to drive a tiller in chauffeur school. Other guys that have it, but it's usually 1 or 2 days, and then we're back to tactics and everything else,
Mm-hmm.
and everything else that goes with driving. You're house trained, and then the captain basically will give you the okay when he thinks you're ready. If you didn't hear any cars, if you didn't hear any objects, that whole thing. If you don't have your name on the tailboard.
Right.
Didn't look like Kramer going down the road with your hair on fire.
And it's funny you say that, because there's one street that we go down, and in the summer there's always people, have block parties and stuff like that. And we go by this one house. I'm in the back, and they're always yelling Kramer. So I do the whole Kramer, where I'm sticking my feet out the door and stuff.
That's great.
So you train in house, and that position is actually the outside vent position. So we're a little, as far as the outside vent person or the outside vent position, we're a little delayed because we can't drive with our SCBA on. So we actually have our own separate compartment with we have our gloves with us. Again, I train the guys, and I train myself. I try to wear as much as possible. I have my hood on, my gloves on, everything ready to roll. Because just because you're going to a water leak or an elevator on this call doesn't mean the next call isn't going to be a fire. So you should be as prepared as possible.
Right.
So you have your compartment with your saw, your mask. Actually, we have two. We have an OV compartment with a saw and all your tools for forcible entry, and then we have your Halligan with your SCBA and your helmet. We do have straps for your gloves and everything, and then all of our extrication equipment. Recently, we just received saws and grinders from DeWalt and different companies, and that's the OV compartment. So we are slightly delayed getting to the fire, but again, you're in a tiller box, so you're above everybody when you're driving down a block, so you can actually get a look at what you're going to. You can start your size up a little earlier than most, especially guys in the inside cab that are maybe they're back, to the fire. Mm-hmm. They can't really see anything. You get that advantage, and you kind of understand like what you're going to, and what ladders you need, what saw you need, what tools you need when you're getting off the rig. So that's the tillerman in a nutshell.
Yeah.
How
are the tillers put? So you said that's the only one in the Bronx?
I think there's about 13 in the citywide, but that's the only one in the Bronx. There's a few I think 2 in Harlem. There's a few in Manhattan, obviously Queens and Brooklyn. Everybody has, I don't think Staten Island has one, but the rest of the 4 out of 5 boroughs have a few tillers still around. Our area, we have what's called Wakefield and Woodlawn, and 39 used to be in Woodlawn, and it's very, very tight. So
that's what I was going to say.
Our second due companies are either a tower ladder or a rear mount. So it's a little bit more difficult for them to maneuver through those streets. So that's why we still have it. People do say that you could do it with a rear mount. You don't need a tiller, but it makes it that much easier to get through those tight streets, because when you're driving through and you only have about 3 or 6 inches on one, on either side, and you're trying not to clip mirrors as you're going up the block, it's definitely worth it to have that, tiller. Tower ladders, it's tough because they're so big, they're monsters. So it's, trying to drive a crane through a tight street like that in the city, it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they get it done, but it's tough.
Yeah, we have a tower ladder, and in our small village, when we're out in our town is kind of separated, and we have a village area, and then we have more of a rural area outside, and then I think we only have 3 ladders in the county, so we're fairly busy with mutual aid too. But in our tiny little village, there's certain streets that it's like that's a no-go. Like it's not going on. It's not going there.
Sure.
Don't try to do it, you know.
Yeah.
So, and that's heavily trained upon too. With that, just knowing your first due area and knowing what you can do and what you can't do with the apparatus that you have is so important.
Yeah, and there's a lot of advantages that, you know, being a tiller, as far, you know, I always tell the guys, you know, your head should be out the window. I mean, obviously you're paying attention, you're steering, and it's opposite steering, by the way. So that's what really gets guys messed up, because when they first start off, they start off like they're driving a regular car.
Right.
And their first move is you know, the opposite way, and they're like, whoa, what's going on here? They're hitting the button, because we have 2 buttons, safety buttons, and you can't turn the rig on unless that the tillerman's in the back and hits the button too. So, you know, there's safety issue, you know, safety feature. But you know, I just tell these guys, I mean, we have everything you could think of, frames, you know, like we call taxpayers or commercial buildings, you know, high rise. You know, take a look at them, see how you're going to get to the back. You know, how many fences do you have? You know, what are you up against? You know, you should be sizing up all the time as you're driving down the street.
Right.
You know, in that tiller box, I mean, you really have an advantage. You know, not just responding to the incident, but just if we're on building inspection, whatever it is, you get a look at everything.
Yeah, like a bird's eye view.
Point.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
In your area, is there an extensive amount of construction going on all the time? I mean, how do you keep up with that in terms of the building inspection and all of that kind of stuff?
Well, we're only allowed to inspect multiple dwellings. You know, when we have certain incidents, you know, obviously when engine has EMS or we have a water leak, so we can get into, you know, we're in people's houses and we can take a look at, you know, what's going on inside. But we only inspect multiple dwellings, and usually we keep the hallways clean and just see if, you know, make sure that you know, they're keeping everything up to snuff. But construction is just constant, and they're building a house, they're building an apartment right next to the firehouse now. It's a 7-story building. So we have them digging right outside. There's, you know, a few times where we had backhoes in front of the apparatus floor, you know, trying to respond. And it's just constant mayhem. You know, that's all it is. And honestly, it's a busy place, but just imagine that in Manhattan, you know, where it's tenfold, you know, daily there's people in and out of that place. And it's just, I mean, I've been on runs in Manhattan where it will take you an hour to get back to the firehouse. You know, for us, where it's not that crazy with traffic, but at times we have multiple highways in our district too. You know, we have the Bronx River Parkway, the Major Deegan. We actually have, if other units are out, we respond to the New England Thruway. You know, so we're all over the place, and it can be really busy. Yeah, it's just nonstop, and we have the elevated train 1 block down from our firehouse too. So that hampers you know, traffic and our response time, you know, tenfold. So we learn where to go, when, you know, at what time during the day, you know, what streets to take as chauffeurs. Yeah,
that's you know, I mean, I don't spend a tremendous amount of time in the city, but the time that I do, you know, I always kind of look at these guys, you know, responding, and it just, you know, whether it's fire, EMS, you know, fire seems to get a little bit more respect because they're driving bigger vehicles. You know, I can't imagine working in an ambulance in the city. You know, I mean, I see these things trying to get through traffic, and it's like nobody gives a crap. You know, they're just like, you know, just siren, whatever, doesn't matter what they're doing. They're just.
Sadly, that's not exclusive to the city.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know.
I mean, they have it so much worse, but oh my God.
Difference in the city is they have nowhere to go.
I know, right?
Like,
yeah, you can't go around, right?
There's nowhere to go. It's not like it's not like you're jumping out into the other lane to get around somebody. You have a passing zone, you know. It's like
sirens mean nothing to anyone ever. It's horrible.
No, and they usually, you know, if they do want to pull out of the way, they usually pull into traffic instead of away from traffic. So you always, you know, there's always some kind of obstacle.
Your second call.
Yeah, exactly.
Just gonna stop and help this person real quick.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, listen, one of the things that we've tried to promote here. Obviously this whole thing of professional volunteerism, right? Being a professional at the job, regardless of your pay grade. But we've also talked about avenues for people, because we have a lot of younger listeners that are like, obviously thinking about doing this as a career, so it's been cool, bringing you on, having Chief Mapledorm on, because his path is like completely unconventional.
Sure, absolutely.
When we talk to him, because it's an avenue that nobody really ever thinks of when you think fire service. And another friend of ours who hasn't been on this show yet, but I did National Fire Radio with, and that's John Stern from Fairfax. So
yeah.
And this is just in my little bubble, right? Of people that started as volunteers, now are doing it as a career somewhere. And, every once in a while we'll get a little of that. We don't buy into it, but we get a little of that career volunteer, rift going on.
Sure.
And Kara and I have always held fast that, it goes both ways. There are guys that are on the job as career guys that are just have a chip on their shoulder, and then there are volunteers that have a freaking chip on their shoulder.
Sure.
But I like bringing guys like you on, like Chief Mapledorm, talking to John, and Matt when he comes on. You guys are all guys that didn't forget where you came from. Like your roots, what got you to where you are, and
sure.
and that is huge. It's commendable. I love talking to anybody like that remembers when they were doing it at home, with a bunch of other guys, just basically for fun.
Sure.
And but at the same time, it's cool to highlight the career, and sure, you ended up in the FDNY, but look at the path you took to get there.
Sure.
Putting yourself through career academy at the State Fire Academy. Again, that's a thing that not a lot of people know about. Up in Kara's neck of the woods, there's lots of bunk-in programs. People don't know.
Sure.
People don't know about these bunk-in programs. Kids that are like, do I want to do this? Do I not? Maybe they think they do, but they're not sure.
Sure.
That's another great avenue. The bunk-in programs to say, hey, look, is this what I want to do with the rest of my life?
Absolutely. There are a ton of avenues you could take, and again, it's just how motivated are you? You see a lot of that where probably and you probably know Brian and Kara. I mean, you probably know 10 or 15 people that want to be firemen somewhere, and maybe didn't do it because they weren't motivated. They didn't know about those programs. I mean, not dating ourselves again, but like the internet wasn't this massive explosion of information at the time. Like it just started out. And so I remember going on little websites, and you had to pay $15 a year, and you kept kept tabs on which department was
firehousejobs.com or whatever.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's whatever. You got it. I couldn't remember the name, so I didn't want to just make up anything. But it was something like that. Yeah. But and I did take other exams before that. I definitely I took the exams in Connecticut. Myself, Chief Meadow, and and was he captain now? Captain Stern, Lieutenant Stern? I don't know what he's doing.
John's an assistant. He's an assistant chief now, I believe.
Wow.
Of training. Yeah, I think. Yeah. He's bounced. John's had a bunch. He's had another guy that's had a great career. I mean, and again, it's look. I give you guys a lot of props because, I went a different path. I took the FDNY exam with other friends of mine, and only one of our group ended up, getting on the job. But like you said, back then it was a longer process,
Sure.
I mean, I took the test, scored well. It was a year and a half, I think, until I even got the results from the test.
Sure.
And then it was another year until they finally called you for the physical. And then it was another year, you know, it drug out for years back then. And,
Absolutely.
and, you know, some of us, you know, life happened, you know, you settle into a job, you're making money, you're comfortable, you got a girlfriend or whatever at the time. And it's, you know, kind of holding into to your roots. And, you know, you guys have followed your passion. I give you credit. You know, I mean, you did your thing. You know, John picking up and moving south. You know, Tad joining the military and just kind of seeing the world. You know, I mean, that's not for everybody. You know, I guess is what I'm saying. But if it's what you want to do, you know, you figure it out.
And listen, sorry, go ahead,
No,
Kara.
go ahead.
No, I just, you know, all those thoughts went through our heads doing this too, you know, like, okay, you know, this is going to take a while. You know, what do? I'm getting older. You know, is this going to work out? You know, you have that in the back of your head. But I guess if you push forward and you're motivated to do, and that's what you want to do, then, you know, hopefully it'll work out for you, you know, as a motivated individual. So.
Right. I've talked about on the show, and we've actually interviewed one of my past mentees, but I'm very interested and focus a lot on mentoring younger members or newer members. They don't have to be, you know, whatever age, but and one of the things that I talk about when I'm out doing pub ed with high school age kids and things like that are thinking about careers and they're thinking about the fire service is I talk to them a lot about what the opportunities are and how to set a pathway to get to where you want to go if you want to go career. And one of the things that I do talk to them about is, you know, if they say, well, you know, my parents want me to go to a 4-year college. And I talk to them a lot about what it looks like as a career firefighter. When you start out, if you're 18 or 19 years old and you put in 20 years, you got a long way after you retire to do other things. And there's nothing wrong with getting a 4-year degree after that, you know, or even while you're working
during it,
during, you know, and a lot of times there's a lot of educational tuition opportunities as a fireman in career for tuition reimbursement and loan forgiveness and all kinds of other things that can help you make that goal while you're doing what you love and what your passion is and serving in your community. And I do talk to them about bunk-in programs and getting their feet wet and, you know, trying that out. And I also talk to them about looking at where they want to do career and what the requirements are for civil service or city or whatever the format is for getting on. If they're requiring you to be a paramedic and you want to invest money in an education and that's what you want to do, go to medic school, right? I mean, go to medic school. You know, get a job on a bus, you know, working as a medic while you're waiting and trying to get into your slot, because it's more attractive for many career departments if you already have your medic and they don't have to pay for that versus them having to pay for your academy, because typically academy is a lot cheaper. So just talking to the younger generation or people that are interested in that pathway about different things like that, I think is really valuable. And, you know, I am a big proponent of trade school for people too. If people like working with their hands, if people like, you know, to, you know, be their own boss and that, I mean, instead of just driving kids towards 4-year degrees constantly, and that's the only focus, like, let's broaden it out. Let's see where the interest lies and, you know, give people what they want, you know, promote the positivity and show them a good example of what you can do when you have a pathway and a little guidance and a little support.
Yeah. I knew I liked you for some reason. You know why? Because I'm huge with the trade schools. You know, I grew up in the trades, and just because I grew up in trades, that's not the reason. It's, again, it was either you went to college or you just, you know, you worked somewhere and that was it. You got a job. You know, we're old enough to say that, but like, you know, it's just, I always tell the guy, you know, how about have your kid go to a trade school? You know, we always need plumbers, electricians, whatever it is that can help you in your firefighter career. You know, become a paramedic in the EMT. I mean, I did that. I took all that to become a, you know, state and certified firefighter. You know, no matter where I went, you know, if I took a test in Florida, at least I had that. But the trades, you always need trades. And nobody wants to do that anymore. Everybody, again, we're in a different generation where it's just the iPhone, the computer, whatever it is. They're just sitting there. Like everybody wants to be, everybody wants to design games and stuff like that. That's great, but again, you're clogging that whole industry. Right now. Somebody has to learn. I mean, even with my kids, they're young, but I'm trying to show them, that. Just show them both sides, where they can come out when you build something, because I do a lot of my own work. So, at home and, on the side also helping people out. So I try to show them, how to use power tools, how to use a hammer, how to use a tape measure, no fractions through using a tape measure. It's great. It's probably the best motivator. So that's the other day. And I know probably taking off Facebook or wherever I saw it, but it is great. Like my father taught me that at an early age and actually helped me out with math,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like talking to them about like the reality of adulthood, it's not going to end when you're 25. You have a long way to go. So in these days, it's not like in like my grandparents' generation where you retired when you were, 55, and then you just lived off your retirement for the rest of for the next 30 years. Like that's not the reality of the world anymore.
No.
So if you're going to retire from like firefighting, for example, and whatever age you're at, I mean, you can technically retire after, in most cases 20 years. And if you're really young, then what are you going to do with the rest of your life?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not, instead of looking at it as an end game, look at it as, this is what I want to do in my life right now. And I want to have this experience. I want to build off of it. I want to do some good in the world. I want to prove to myself that I am worthy and capable of doing a good job and serving others. And then that's going to set you up for so much success in whatever your next choice is that you're going to have to do.
Yeah. You guys bring up some really good points. I mean, look, Erik, you knew you wanted to be a firefighter, right? You knew that you wanted to be in the FDNY. So you moved to the city and you're being a plumber. I mean, how many people can say they do that? First of all, not a lot, I'm sure there's not a tremendous amount of guys out there that I don't know anybody in my life other than you that moved to the city to be a plumber, because your end game is, what you wanted to do, was be a firefighter, but you're setting yourself up. I know a shitload of people that wanted to be firefighters that tried to scam the system by getting an Orange County address or whatever the hell they could do. Right. Sure. Like I know lots of people that did it that way, and nothing against those guys, don't send me hate mail, guys, please. All right. But but
well, here we go.
It's just what I'm trying to say is, kind of to Kara's point, if you're focused on something that you want to do, right? All right. So maybe you want to be a firefighter, but it's not in the 5 boroughs. Maybe it's in upstate New York or in another state somewhere. All right. Figure out what's going to get you there, right? Yeah. Figure out what is it that, becoming an EMT and riding an ambulance, is it becoming a paramedic because you're going to, they're going to look at you more favorably when the selection time comes, like what are those things, figure it out, look into it, that's what you got to do to get there. You can't just kind of sit back and expect life to come to you. I mean, that's not what happens, Yeah. I mean, some people luck out, and that is what happens, but not the majority, right? The majority work for it, and that's how they get there.
Yeah. It's not a straight path by any means. So there's always some bends in the road. There's no doubt about it. And, but you have to be able to, willing to take that risk, I'm a small town boy, going to big city type of thing, it's listen, you take the risk. And you know what, throughout my career, I met a ton of guys did the same thing.
Yeah.
And, becoming a plumber, just another advantage for when I did get a job, people needed a plumber, guys at the firehouse. Hey, I heard you do plumbing. Right. All right. So, at least I have, I could do a little side work and make a little extra money, but obviously, your focus is firefighting, and you want to do that. But again, I mean, we all grew up with guys, I want to be a fireman, but they don't realize that, there's going to be a few avenues you have to take before you get to that end goal. So, people have to realize that.
Right. And if that's really what you want, it might take broadening your horizons a bit, right? It might not be in your, in your small part of the world, wherever that part of the world is, you know, whether
Sure.
it's in New York or the Midwest or the West, you know, you might have to travel to make that dream possible, you know.
Sure.
One thing I got to correct, I gave John a promotion. He is a lieutenant. When I was thinking,
Okay.
when I was thinking assistant chief, he did some volunteer time down there as well for a while, and he was an assistant chief in the volunteer house. That's where. But on the job, lieutenant. So sorry, John, gave you an early pay grade bump there.
Yeah, John and I took that test at the same time, and he did very well, and that's where he ended up. And you know, I'm
Yeah.
glad for him. It's awesome.
Yeah. All right, so let's wrap this one up. This has been awesome. Erik, what you know, if you were to, you know, just kind of, you know, leave some parting words on anybody that might be thinking about a similar path or looking to, you know, go make the jump from volunteer to career, or not, just trying to make the best of their volunteer career because they're in a trade. They're a full-time plumber, happy being a full-time plumber, but they want to be the best firefighter that they can be. What would you tell them?
Well, you have to be personally motivated. This day and age where you know, you can sit there and some people want to become firefighters, but they're comfortable just watching YouTube videos of people fighting fire.
Yeah.
You have to stay motivated, and you have to motivate people around you. You have to. I think one of the episodes, I remember Kara saying, you know, finding that person in the firehouse that you link up with, that truly is motivated to train and to want to excel. Again, whether you want to just stay a volunteer firefighter or you want to make it a career, you really have to push yourself and motivate yourself, whether you're in a small town or a big city, whatever it is. You know, you have to push yourself to figure out what you want to do.
Right.
You know, I think that's the big thing. If you have a goal, don't just say, "Oh, I have a goal this day and tomorrow, it's not a big deal." You know, keep that goal in the back of your head and make it happen. You know, if it's just training at your firehouse or mentoring, whatever it is, have a long-term goal, you know, as an individual. And once you do that, you're going to motivate people around you. So.
Agreed. 100%.
Absolutely.
Kara?
Yeah, I just, you know, I love, the thing that I love about us doing this is getting to meet great people from, you know, all over and learning so much. And I really appreciate you, Erik, coming on to talk to us tonight. And I know our listeners are really going to enjoy it. And, you know, I encourage everybody to reach out to us and share feedback with us, because that's what makes it, you know, so worth it for us to do it.
I'm glad I got to come on. This is awesome. Glad to meet you, Kara and Brian. It's been a long time. And actually, before you go, I wasn't on social media or anything up until this point, and I actually picked up your podcast and motivated me to go on Facebook. And I know I'd probably regret that one day. Well, the BS and the political BS I'm talking about, I know all the stuff that's going on in the world today, but it actually motivated me to reach out to people I haven't seen in a long time, and to see what everybody's doing in the fire service and everything else in their life. So,
yeah, there's
glad it's got to see
the good side of Facebook.
The good part.
Don't go to the dark side.
Yeah.
No, negative.
Listen, Kara, we didn't even get a chance to talk skiing. Okay,
I know.
we didn't even get a chance to talk skiing, all right? Because this guy's a phenomenal skier, also, and we've had some good times. I know we've got some listeners. Some of you are going to be like, "What the hell are they talking about?" But we had a pretty good tradition for a lot of years of some firefighter ski races.
Awesome.
Locally at Hunter Mountain. We had
Great
some good times.
At Hunter Mountain, yeah. I hope we start to get some snow. I mean, I can't believe it's just barely snowing here, and usually in years past we'd already be skiing. But
yep, and good times for sure.
It's the first time they're canceling the ski race. You know, they've been doing the ski race in FDNY for I think 47 years or something like that.
Wow.
And this first year they're going to cancel. And we've been we finally got beat last year, but we've been number one for the last, I think, eight years or something like that.
This guy is a pro. This guy's a pro at recruiting ringers. I'm going to tell you, he's a pro.
You know what? I didn't I didn't even think about skiing, alpine skiing at all when I got to the New York State Fire Department, because it's, again, you're down in the city and it's a little bit different. I mean, I knew people went skiing and, just, went on vacation and stuff. But when I found out that the guys in the firehouse were the number one, the champs of the FDNY ski race, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I can't believe this.
It's meant to be.
Oh, man.
All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. As always, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Erik, thanks for joining us, taking some time out of your day. I'm psyched that you took the plunge and jumped on social media, at least to connect with us, and connect with all of those out there that I'm sure are happy to hear from you and reconnect. But as we end every episode, everyone, please, if you found today's episode valuable, you have some comments or feedback, or you have a question for any of us, myself, Kara, Erik, I could definitely put you in touch with him as well. Please reach out. Best way is via the email, professionalvff. That's professionalvff@gmail.com. You can get us on the Instagram page at professional.brotherhood. Kara's at st.florianfitness. Facebook, just punch in the Professional Brotherhood, punch in St. Florian Fitness, do a search. You can try and figure out how to spell Erik's last name, but I wish you luck with that one. Reach out to me and I'll connect you with Erik if you have any questions for him. But we love the feedback. Keep it coming. Thank you guys for tuning in week after week. And please don't forget, a paycheck does not make you a professional. How you approach the job does. Stay healthy and stay safe.